Welcome back to The Bulwark Goes to Hollywood. My name is Sonny Bunch. I'm culture editor at The Bulwark, and I'm very pleased to be rejoined today by Ryan Fonder. Now, Ryan is at the Los Angeles Times. What's the name of your newsletter, Ryan?
It's called The Wide Shot.
The Wide Shot.
It comes every Tuesday.
Wide Shot comes out every Tuesday. I read it every
free.
Tuesday. It's great. Sign up for it. And I love having Ryan on because it's always good to get somebody who's out in LA on the show. Being based here in Dallas, it makes things hard sometimes to really see what's going on on the ground.
You get to talk to us cultural people. Yeah.
So let's talk. All right. So the big news this week is probably the Netflix earnings call. I mean, there's other news going. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, but the Netflix earnings call seems to be the big thing. And I'll be honest, when I saw the headlines, I thought, oh, this is good news for Netflix. Netflix says they added 5.9 million new subscribers. Their revenue is stable. They're actually like slightly more profitable now. But the market did not seem to respond in kind. What did I miss in the reaction, or what should I have expected from the reaction to the numbers here?
Yeah, I mean, Wall Street reactions are always a little bit of a puzzle, or sometimes a little bit of a puzzle. Sometimes it's not all that obvious. But this time it looked like there was a little bit of softness in the revenue growth. So despite adding almost 6 million new subscribers globally for Netflix during the second quarter, their revenue was just a tad under Wall Street estimates going into the earnings report. So I think what you're seeing there seemed to be like, okay, there's a lot more subscribers coming on because, partly because of the password sharing crackdown. But that didn't necessarily translate into a ton of new revenue yet. I mean, definitely a bump, but not maybe as much as some people were hoping for.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, if you look at the figure that folks like to focus on here, the ARPU, the average revenue per user. Netflix has a different name for it, average revenue per member or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But it all means the same thing.
All means the same thing. What you saw was more subscribers, but a lower ARPU for basically the static earnings, which, I guess is kind of surprising, but also makes some sense since it's kind of, isn't this more or less what people expected to happen when they started the crackdown on password sharing?
Yeah, and also when they added the ad sharing or the ad supported tier, because the ad supported tier, you have a lower monthly fee, but you also have advertising revenue coming in. So maybe Netflix's ad revenue hasn't quite caught up to, or might be missing out from the lower monthly fees. It's also worth noting that Netflix has ditched its basic plan now. It's basic without ads. Its basic ad-free plan, which I believe is like $9.99 a month or something like that.
Yeah,
for new members, and returning members. If you're already signed on to that, you can keep paying for it. But
yeah, I mean, that really was one of I've talked about this before on other shows, but it really is a fantastic deal that is kind of subsidized by a lot of free money and other stuff that I don't know that they have the wherewithal for anymore, which is this basic ad-free $10 a month plan. So many movies, so many new shows. It made some sense, but I was reading that the average revenue per user for the ad-supported plan, once you so there's the $7 a month per month or whatever, but also the advertising revenue came out to something like $15 a month, $16 a month. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is about it's what you would hope for. It's in some cases we've seen that with other companies too, where their ARPU actually increases from having the advertising and the lower subscription tier. So clearly, Netflix is succeeding in getting more people in the door, or getting more people to come back. And certainly, the great news for Netflix is that there wasn't a whole lot of cancellations when they started cracking down on the passwords. That was definitely a risk, because you hear all these people online saying, "How dare they not allow me to share my password with my ex-girlfriend who I haven't lived with in 3 years, or share it with my in-laws or whatever." Shout out to the in-laws out there. but there just wasn't a lot of cancellation. You just didn't really see that. That's what they said in their shareholder letter.
The lesson, as always, is the internet is not real life. Don't listen to people on Twitter ever.
How
So
dare you burst my Barbenheimer bubble? Internet is absolutely real life.
we'll
In
get
one
to
case
that.
only.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. All
Yeah.
right. So this because I am actually really I am fascinated and like intellectually and ideologically obsessed with the argument that folks were making that like, oh, this is actually it's bad business for Netflix to cut off freeloaders because reasons. And I could never figure out what the reasons were. What is the argument for saying, well, if we're not, if you a freeloader say, I am not going to pay for a subscription, so I'm just going to steal the thing for free. How is that? Why on earth would Netflix care? Either way, it's $0 in revenue. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of an offshoot of that old internet idea of information just wants to be free, content wants to be free. It's just the whole thing. It's sort of a 20-year-old idea at this point. But it was bad business. It was a terrible idea. And Netflix was happy, I think, for a while to just have people just get addicted, just get on that joint, like just getting some content for free. Sure, share it with your in-laws, share it with your neighbor. That's just going to get people addicted to Netflix stuff. But at a certain point, like it's the classic idea of you get everybody in the door, you get everybody loving your content, and then you jack up the price, or then you force people to pay $8 a month or something like that. So this is probably the least surprising move that Netflix ever could have made.
Yeah, I mean, content does not want to be free, but content does seem to want to be ad supported. Again, the number that jumps out at me the most is the average revenue per user of 15 or $16 a month for the ad supported tier, which is frankly higher than I thought it would be. I was a little surprised by that. The ad tiers do seem to be kind of the future of the streaming model, right?
Yeah, or, they're the present. There's certainly what's happening right now, and I'm sure as Netflix goes, so goes the rest of the industry, and they've already done it with Disney Plus and HBO Max, now Max. Sorry, old habits.
Yeah.
But everyone seems to have a ad supported tier now.
Ads. That's how they get you, the ads. All right, so let's talk. Let's shift gears slightly here from streaming to theatrical. Big weekend in the theaters this week. We've got a huge opening for Barbie, and
Huge.
I mean, I am shocked by some of the numbers we're seeing coming in, but also a huge weekend for Oppenheimer. And then it looks like we're going to have another huge weekend for Sound of Freedom, the independent film from Angel Studios about child trafficking. It looks like, I assuming that we don't see Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 fall completely off a cliff. That movie will probably make another $20 million this weekend. I can't remember the last time we had 4 movies primed to make more than $20 million in the same weekend. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny because this has become a cultural moment just because there's more than one movie in a theater at the same time, and they're two really big movies that are brand new and targeting a pretty different audience. But this used to be basically every summer weekend at the box office. Like I can't remember. I saw what was that article? What opened like against The Dark Knight when that came
Mamma
out?
Mia.
Yeah, Mamma Mia. This is a perfect example of how this industry used to work, like counter programming. It's not a new idea, but it is hilarious that it's just been memed to death, just with all the T-shirts and everything.
So what are what are the first indications looking at? This is gonna go. We're taping this on Friday. Just pulling back the curtain slightly. We're taping this on Friday, so we have some idea of what the box office weekend's going to look like. I mean, my sense from I had 30 minutes to kill yesterday, so I popped into an Alamo Draft House and just sat at the bar and had a drink. And while I was sitting there, I saw no fewer than 3 different giant groups of women clad all in pink come in to take photos in front of the Barbie standee, which led me to instantly understand that this movie is going to make, I don't know, $150 million this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's not out of the question. The 22, I think it was $22 million from Thursday previews. I mean, that's like Marvel movie
Hmm.
territory, right? So easily above 100 million. Definitely looking at 120. I mean, maybe it's front loaded. I don't know. It seems like the audience response is going to be pretty strong here. So I don't know. When I first saw the predictions of 140 million, I thought that's maybe a little irresponsible considering the wackiness we've seen with audience tracking lately. But we'll see. It could do it. Do it.
Do we are still in kind of a weird place for audience tracking, right? Because I do feel like we get a
Mhm.
lot of projections that either overshoot or undershoot by eight figures, like on a fairly regular basis. And look, that's always been part of the box office game, right? It's always been kind of a guessing game, but I do feel like things have gotten especially wonky since the pandemic, trying to figure out the behavior of audiences.
Yeah, and the comps are kind of off too. And I pointed this out a number of times, but a lot of the stuff that you've seen come out recently, kind of underperformed tracking, is all kind of targeting the same audience. You got Mission Impossible, which is a good film, targeting adult men. Opened slightly below tracking, and Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny definitely coming in on the light side, especially relative to his budget. Similar audience there. And then before that, you had The Flash, Transformers: Rise of the Beast. It was just like a lot of kind of male-oriented things. So it's really not surprising at all that if you have a movie that is primarily for women, young women, but like definitely across the board, looks like it's gonna take off with a lot of demos, and you just market the hell out of it. Like no kidding, it's gonna do huge business.
What do you I was just talking about how the internet is not real life. The internet is not real, and I do believe that mostly. But I do think that there is a modest meme factor going on with, especially the Barbie stuff. I do feel like the opportunity to play dress up and go out and have a nice time with your lady friends. It's not that's not how I roll, but I'm not a
Mhm.
woman between the age of 20 and 50, so like I'm not the target demo here. That does seem to be playing a real role in driving audiences to theaters, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really seems so. I mean, you see all the talk about people signing up for double features. AMC put out a press release saying that 20,000 of its Stubs members had already purchased advance tickets for double features. And that was last week. NATO is really the National Association of Theater Owners, not that other NATO, is really interested in this phenomenon. And yeah, the double features probably represent a relatively small portion of the box office if you do the math, but it does contribute to this sense of like there is something going on here and people are talking about it. Me just kind of hanging out just last night, just got a glass of wine with my wife. Um, in the evening, one of our friends walked by and was talking about how they had just figured out their Barbenheimer plan for the weekend. So that's definitely a thing. Definitely a thing.
It's been a while since the experience of going to a movie theater was this kind of big cultural event. And I don't mean I kind of exclude the Marvel stuff from this because the Marvel movies are doing a very specific thing, kind of unto themselves. I just mean the idea of like we're making a point of going to the movies. We're gonna find the best presentation of Oppenheimer that we can find. I'm trying to track down a 1570 IMAX screen. There's only 19 of them in the country. Where am I going to go see? Like, it's actually really, it's heartening, in a way, and like, I frankly, a real, I think, suggestion to Hollywood that like people are tired of a lot of seeing the same old thing over and over again. We got two original movies out this week. They're about to do huge, huge business.
Yeah, I mean, original and designed for that big screen experience too. I mean, Nolan is not to beat a dead horse about the Nolan thing, but I mean, all the talk about like you got to see it in IMAX or 70 millimeter or IMAX 70 millimeter, whichever your choice may be. I mean, there's only a few presentations of that. Oh, David Pollan tweets something that the Chinese theater was trying to add screenings at like 6 o'clock in the morning, which
Two
is,
thirty in the morning. I saw a 2:30 in the morning showing.
and I'm sure they'll be packed. I mean, this is LA. This is a movies. This is a movie town, no question about it. But that's pretty extraordinary to see people just kind of. We don't have lines out the door anymore because of advanced ticket sales, but like that kind of need to see this weekend in the craziest format possible.
Yeah, somebody sent me a press release. There's a Cinemark near me that has the IMAX 70 millimeter. Again, one of the 19 theaters in the country or in the world or whatever that has that system. And they were adding 6:30 a.m. showings. And this is in Dallas. It's not Los Angeles or
Yeah,
Manhattan. Yeah, Dallas is a pretty good movie going town, but it's not that good. And it's wild stuff. I mean, the numbers for Oppenheimer are crazy. I'm seeing again estimates of in the 60 to 70 million dollar range this weekend, which would be huge.
yeah, that'd be massive for a
I
movie
mean,
like this, for a 3 hour historical drama. A lot of it's in black and white.
yeah,
It's not a lot of huge stars. I mean, Matt Damon's in it, but like, yeah, it's
yeah.
not.
Well, it's got Damon and Robert Downey Jr., but they're not the leads. They're
No,
not the guy who's on the poster. Cillian Murphy is, and like I mean again it's that would be if it opened to $60 million. That's 50% better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did, which is a crazy idea. Just for a movie like this.
it also
Uh,
just speaks to like with certain directors, we talk about brands and IP and everything else kind of outweighing everything, the star power and the quality of the movie and everything. But there are certain directors, filmmakers whose movies are events. Nolan's one of them. Tarantino's definitely one of them. Um, it's just it's and having something new and something exciting that people are talking about, and it's that experience. It's the idea that your teeth are going to be shattered by sitting through the explosions or and whatnot. It's,
it
I
is.
don't know. Yeah,
It's wild. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
and then there is another story at the box office the last couple weeks here. We've got Sound of Freedom, which again is an interesting, very strong word of mouth hit. I went to go see it in a theater this week because I figured I should have some idea what people are talking about since it's so
Mhm.
popular. And I want to set the scene here for folks who don't know about this. So at the end of the movie, Jim Caviezel comes on the screen and he does a "thank you for coming to the movie theater" speech. Of the sort we've seen a lot of in front of movies, right? You saw it in front of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, the Dungeons and Dragons movie. The cast is there saying, "Thanks for coming to the theaters. This is how you should see movies, how they're meant to be seen." But this came at the end of Sound of Freedom. And it's Jim Caviezel on the screen. He said, "Thank you for coming. This is the best way to see a movie in a large room with other people. We're all here together. We don't want anyone to not be able to see this movie because they can't afford it. So we're going to give you a chance to pay it forward. QR code's going to come on the screen, and if you feel so inclined, you want to help somebody who can't afford to see the movie, come see it. Scan the code, buy a ticket. We'll get it to them." And I swear to God, hand to God, I saw a woman who was exiting the theater turn around when he started talking, watch him. When the QR code came up, she pulled out her phone, scanned it, and as best as I could tell from 2 or 3 rows back, bought a ticket. I've never seen anything like that before in a theater. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Is there any chatter about this surprise or what do people make of
It's
this?
the, I mean, it is the biggest, other than the Barbenheimer stuff, it is the biggest story at the box office right now. And I think a lot of people are sort of baffled by it in a way, and sort of trying to figure out this, like explain away the phenomenon a little bit. And I think, there's a lot of questions about how much of the box office is this kind of pay it forward dynamic. There's with movies that are faith based or faith based adjacent. There's the whole group buy-in phenomenon where people will buy out a whole theater for people to see it. So I'm sure there's some of that, but it does seem like it's an organic thing in a lot of ways. Like there is definitely a lot of word of mouth here. There's kind of an underserved audience element to it, and but I can't dismiss it. We can't dismiss it as just kind of as one of these sort of cause type of films because just the week it came out, that Monday, just anecdotally, like my son's nanny came in the house, and the first thing she started talking about was that she had seen this movie called Sound of Freedom, and like, what is this? And was very moved by it. So there definitely seems to be a real groundswell here.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, I've never seen anything like it in the theater.
Yeah.
People literally buying tickets for strangers to go see this movie that they were so moved by, which is, again, it's a testament to the power of theaters.
Hmm.
Let's see. All right. So what else is going on? Speaking of theaters, we've got strike news here. The studios are starting to pull releases. Just before we started talking, A24 announced that they are pushing back the release date of Problemista, which was going to be one of their September October award season type films, or I think maybe August. I can't remember when it's going to come out. Point is, they're pushing it back. The
Hmm.
Luca Guadagnino film, Challengers, is getting pushed back. AKA the Zendaya tennis threesome movie, getting pushed back. And Warner Brothers is now kind of hinting, well, we might have to push back Dune 2, if the people aren't here to promote it. What does the rest of the year look like in terms of release strategy? Are we going to see an empty September, October, November, December again, like we have the last couple of years, just because studios are too afraid to put things out without promotion?
I don't know about empty, but you're definitely going to see some stuff shuffle. I mean, you need, especially with movies that aren't very IP driven or don't have a brand or don't have a sequel sort of fueling its interests. Like you need Zendaya walking the red carpet. You need like pretty people talking to the press and posing for photographs and doing TV spots and all of that. Especially for smaller films, it's really essential to the publicity machine. So it's not surprising at all that things are starting to move, especially on the indie front. um, I do think it sort of speaks to this issue that I've been pushing back on a lot, which is that people saying this sort of Wall Street brain of like actually the studios are happy about the strike because they're able to save money on production because they're able to cut out all their writer deals. And there might be some truth to that, but the fact is that this strike is really, really going to hurt everybody in the industry, like the studios. Like stuff's just not getting done, and studios like can cut revenue or cut costs all they want, but they have to bring in revenue, and theaters are a huge way. As we've seen, they're an essential part of the equation for legacy media companies to build the profits.
Well, I mean, the people I feel worst for are the folks who are stuck in the middle here. You've got your theater employees and theater owners who are looking at essentially a second COVID like shutdown in movie releases. Not quite as stark, perhaps, but still pretty bad. You're looking at folks in supporting industries. I have a friend who does closed captions, and he's like, we're maybe gonna get laid off, like
Yeah.
because we don't have movies to close caption. I think I mean, you know, I understand that labor discussions are difficult and everybody wants to get everything, and the studios don't want to give up precedent setting deals and all that, but after having just lived through an unexpected disaster in the form of COVID, it really feels like we're rushing towards another self-inflicted one.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Barry Diller saying that basically it's gonna destroy the business, for and have a lot of long term ripple effects. Um, the When you talk to people who are below the line crew workers in IATSE, just writing a big story about this now, actually, that I'll publish soon, um, is that generally, when you talk to hairdressers and set designers, they're definitely supportive of strike, and the writers and the actors and what they're demanding. They're all facing the same problems. Uh, on the flip side, like, they are hurting. Like, they are having to go to the actors fund or these various funds that support people who are out of work for a long time in the business. Like, it's not easy to live in some place like Los Angeles and not work for 6 months unless your parents are rich, and that's like a whole other issue with entertainment and access and diversity and the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy out there. I mean, to the extent that now there was a big story this week about Universal literally cutting down tree shade to burn the protesters out, burn the picketeers out. What was that all about?
So there's no real way to know the intentionality. This feels silly to even say out loud, but it was kind of the most LA thing to happen. You had a 90-degree plus heat wave during the summer. Sun's blazing down, and people are going on strike. And it's the Universal corner, like where that picket's happening, is one of the hottest places that you could picket in LA. So the fact that this tree cover came down became kind of a meme. It became kind of a point of controversy, and people actually came out in picket lines. Like, I saw one woman come out wearing like a kind of a tree crown on her head with a sign that said "Never Forget," and it just became this whole thing. And the city controller said they were going to investigate it because apparently whoever was responsible for trimming the trees hadn't taken out permits for that location in like 3 years. Universal says it was all just a big misunderstanding. They do annual tree trimming to sort of avoid the safety problems when the winds come through. So I guess so that the tree branches don't get knocked down and destroy cars and stuff. But man, the timing of that, it couldn't have been worse. Couldn't have looked worse.
Yeah. And Universal, I think I saw that Universal did actually set up tents.
They did
outside. They were like, we messed up. We went a little too far this time.
Yeah. We messed up trying to burn out the protesters, but and so the WGA was able to declare victory at least on that one.
Yeah. What do you? Just as an outside or as an on the ground but outside observer, what do you think the odds are of this getting settled anytime here in the next few months? I mean, I get the sense we're in for a long shutdown.
The word I keep hearing is December, whereas if you asked me a few weeks ago, the word I was hearing then was November. So we just keep getting pushed back 4 weeks at a time, I guess. I don't know, but like, if this goes on through the holidays, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, it's not ideal. All right, as you know, I like to close these interviews by asking if there's anything I should have asked. If you think there's anything folks should know about what's going on in the world of the business of showbiz, what's up?
God, you ask me this question every time, so I should probably be more prepared for it. I don't have anything right now. I'm trying to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I mean, I guess have you guys talked about the Bob Iger stuff and all that?
We could talk about Bob Iger. What's going on? Yeah, so Disney is looking to possibly sell off portions of the empire. Bob Iger's in spin-off mode. What's happening there?
Well, what I was thinking about most recently was this, idea of who's going to play the leadership role in the strike situation. Like, in the past, you had sort of like the Lou Wasserman type of elder statesman that would come through and bring the sides together during a strike and hammer out a deal. And even 3 years ago, you would assume that person would be Bob Iger, but he kind of stepped in it in that CNBC interview where he talked about how the writers' demands were unrealistic, or actually, not realistic, he said technically, but but yeah, he's kind of in hot water over that, and having to do a little damage control. So it can't be him right away. He could still totally swoop in, once things kind of tamp down a little bit in terms of the rhetoric. But now it's like, okay, is Netflix going to be leading the way in terms of determining when this ends? Because right now they're doing, like everybody, they're hurting from the strike, but they're the ones whose stock price is still climbing. So I don't know. That's kind of my big question.
Is there any? I know this is something that the folks on the side of the actors and the writers are constantly asking, and it seems like the answer is always no. But is there any chance of splitting off the AMPTP into smaller, picking off Warner Brothers or something like that and making a deal with them, or does it look like the producers and the studios are going to stick together throughout?
Well, for now, it's a united front, of course, but. It would be a very extreme circumstance to have Netflix break off and be like, actually, here's everything you want, writers and actors, and we can resume business without the rest of the studios. I mean, that's a thing that has been floated that could potentially happen. I'm not hearing any actual rumblings of that happening yet. But that would
it definitely seems to be a lot of wish casting from what a lot of well, this would be great if this did happen, but I don't see the studios cracking on that front.
No, not anytime soon anyway. Maybe if it goes into next summer, that would be something to think about.
Well, if it goes into next summer, we might as well just shut Hollywood down forever because I just don't understand how everyone would survive. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks again for being on the show. Always love having you on. Author of the Wide Shot newsletter at the Los Angeles Times. Free newsletter. Go sign up for it. It's great. I'll have a link to it in the email. Ryan, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonny. Talk to you later.
Again, my name is Sonny Bunch. I'm culture editor at The Bulwark, and I will be back next week with another episode of The Bulwark Goes to Hollywood. We'll see you guys then.
Welcome to Talkville, the ultimate Smallville rewatch podcast. Look, we have a lot of fans. We have a lot of people that watch the show. We have a lot of people that still watch Smallville. They show up to the cons. They're glorious. They're awesome. They're just loyal is the word. I guess I'm proud of the show. So I'm like, come on, man. Smallville. Because now everybody's like Arrow and this. And these are all great shows. I'm not knocking the shows. I'm just saying, don't you remember us before the social media?
I want to be a meme. Meme.
Catch up with season 1 or start season 2 on YouTube or wherever you listen.